Hi. On the back of that podcast about ITH Pharma, it'll be interesting whether they will actually disclose exactly what happened. My worry is what will happen is that they will go into the court, they will plead guilty, they'll apologise to the 7 parents, they'll pay them $1 million each, which is probably nothing to them. And then we won't get to the bottom of exactly what happened here, whether it was negligence, whether it was an accident, like human error, or whether it was knowingly done. And I know that when you hear the idea of it, a pharmaceutical company knowingly giving contaminated, that's what they're saying, baby feed to babies would be unthought of, because you'd have to think about the mindset of the person who would do that. But we do know there are stories of that in the past. Pharmaceutical companies always getting charged, and there was a case, I don't know if it was last year, it was in America, where there was a pharmaceutical company that knew I don't know if it was the blood or something like that, had been contaminated with HIV/AIDS, and instead of selling it to their domestic market, they sold it to their foreign market, knowing it was contaminated. So it's not unheard of for these things to happen. Maybe it was like, I don't know, was it just out of date and that's why it was contaminated? Was it not looked after properly? Was it not frozen properly, or whatever happens in this process? The problem is it needs someone to own up, and humans don't tend to own up, when they're going to be in trouble, or whistleblow because of the consequences of doing such a thing. And also, if you're just one person saying, yeah, I know it was done, or I did it, I knew the date was wrong, because you're an employee of that person, will you get charged, or with the company? And then obviously everyone will look at the company who's helped thousands of people, and I'm sure that they have, and they're thinking there's one individual, 1 against 1,000, where people are going to be swayed, because that's how we are as a species. But it will be interesting to see whether it does come out or not, and what the mindset was of this individual, people, or company. But it just goes to show you that now it's going to be very difficult for people to trust. Imagine if you're a parent and you're in a neonatal clinic, and you're going to be wanting to know, is the product you're going to put into my baby from ITH Pharma? I'm suspecting they're going to change their name. And the other story is that I think it's from today or yesterday, that you can now get prescribed cannabis, or I don't know if it's synthesized cannabis or actual cannabis, I don't really know, on the NHS. And that's because of that case with the Irish child who was taken away from. So the interesting thing with this is that I'm sure if you go back 10, 15 years and you talked about the subject of, why don't they give cannabis to patients? It has all these benefits and it can do this, that and the other. People would have probably said, no, you just want to get a fix, you're a junkie, or, they would have poo-pooed it, or, even the NHS or scientists would come back and saying, no, there's no, stick to the normal medicines, there's no benefit to this, it's just a drug. Even though these things are just labelled, all drugs, all medicine is exactly the same thing. It's all from natural resources, or synthesised from natural resources, and it's made into these things. It's no different. Cannabis is no different from tea or paracetamol. They're all exactly the same. It's just a classification. It's a bit like so-called black people and so-called white people. It's just a classification that people have made up. But the fact is that, if you went back 10, 15 years and you spoke about this subject, people would have laughed or would have said, no, there's no benefit to this, like they do now when people talk about cancer treatments and they want alternatives, or they want to use different drugs that are not allowed legally, and they will say no, even though you can show in other countries there's evidence that it does have benefit, at least if not benefit to the disease, benefit to the symptoms of the disease. And now, lo and behold, it's available on the NHS. Sometimes humans are very slow, but also they're very stubborn in actually testing these things. There must be so much out there that is untested, and maybe it's for financial gain of these companies that already have products out there, which is possible. But and also, I guess, marketing cannabis would be difficult because people will be concerned about, worried about it because of the bad name it's been given over the past, because drugs allegedly kill people, though I suspect cars and smoking kills more people than any drug overdose has ever done. But because you get high profile celebrity cases where they've died of drug overdoses, then that's why people get scared of it. So that's probably the reason why they synthesize it and give it a new name as well, because of that reason. But it is interesting. But what it shows is there's lots of things out there that change from one point to the other. If you look back at that point, how it was originally, people would have said, no, this is not a benefit. And now, 15 years later, at this point, they're saying, yes, it is a benefit. The same individuals, in the sense of, not same individuals, but the same, like say the NHS or so-called scientists or medical professionals or whatever. So you see how it's changed. And that's just one thing. So what we've got to always do is look out for these things. Look out for these things that need to be shown. Because it's not just one, there's many of them. And this is a key point as well. Why? Why is that? You must know yourselves of things that if you look back, one time it was one thing and now it's another thing. What is that all to do with? Is that to do with lying? Is that to do with ignorance? I know the easy way is to say, it's changing perception, or we're more intelligent now, or did they know it all along? Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.